Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. Today I want to talk about the book I'm working on. It just takes so long. There's so much information here that I'm trying to piece together. It is truly one of the biggest mysteries I've been trying to piece together in this whole crazy financial thing. I think it's bigger than the Road to Ruta stuff, although it is related to the Road to Ruta comics. In that they do go into caves and find golden lights and things like that. But what I'm talking about is the gold in the Grand Canyon, that infamous gold in the Grand Canyon that I've been jumping up and down about. I believe I was the first one to do it in recent times, and I hear that I am not the only one who knew about it, and it goes all the way back to the early 1900s. Who knew about it, how they knew about it, what was going on in the Grand Canyon that made the government shut down an area of the Grand Canyon that was extremely important. And remember, we got to go back in time when we think about this stuff. Think about the potential for a gigantic gold mine found in the Grand Canyon to the 1900s, early 1900s, when it was so difficult to even get to the Grand Canyon, much less traverse the wildness of it. There was no roads, there was no nothing. And what they found in the Grand Canyon, I do believe that my research is correct, although there's a lot of things that tell me that the government especially has been trying to throw people off the trail. But what sparked my interest in the research was finding, during my searching for any information on the Federal Reserve and any information on gold in the past, because we've been lied to for so long about what really takes place at the Federal Reserve. I was going through the New York Times archives. They have an archive section. I paid to be a member, so I'm digging through the archives of the very, very old New York Times. And I came across this amazing article, front page of the New York Times, on June 19th, 1912. And the title of it is "Tell of Vast Riches in the Grand Canyon." And it says, men engaged in gold dredging operations expect to astonish the world. Have overcome obstacles. Obviously, getting any kind of dredging equipment into the base of the Grand Canyon was, more than difficult. Steamboat placed in the Great Chasm. Large capital only can extract gold from silt. And that's the front page of the New York Times in 1912. And I'm like, holy moly, what is this all about? Why have we never heard of gold in the Grand Canyon? Why is the Grand Canyon named after all these Egyptian temples, all the mountains in the Grand Canyon? Why are there so many cordoned off areas within the Grand Canyon? What's the military doing in the Grand Canyon? Why can't governments get in to mine in the Grand Canyon? Governments as in presidents. Every president since Bush Sr. has tried to open up the Grand Canyon for mining, and they have been all shut down. I believe it has to do with this secret gold find that they found. So anyway, that is the front page of the New York Times on June 19th, 1912. Now remember, the Federal Reserve was created, signed into law that next year on December 23rd, 1913. So there was a lot of talk about going back to setting up a central bank for some reason or another. Woodrow Wilson was the guy who signed it into law, the Federal Reserve Act, but he was very much anti-banker. He hated the banks. So what made him do that? What made him sign it into law? That's what got me thinking. That's what got me to search down things like this article where they're claiming vast riches in the Grand Canyon. Now let me read you the rest of this article. This was front page of the New York Times in the June 19th, 1912. And I printed it all out. I have my glasses on because when I printed it out originally, it's very small. But this is word for word, and I'll read you the whole article. We got a little time. Sit back, have some coffee, because it's amazingly important. Just think about, in 1900, there was about 100 million ounces of gold in circulation as money. That's all. Only 100 million ounces total for the whole world in circulation as money. So for this to come out on the cover of the New York Times, that there's vast riches in the Grand Canyon that will, quote, astonish the world, it would have blown away the people who were involved in monetary thinking and monetary aspects and monetary control of the time. And I believe ultimately it was the reason that the Federal Reserve System was set up back then and allowed to happen. Because I'm going to read you the rest of this article, and it goes into extreme detail about, now, a few things you got to keep in mind is Nelson Aldrich was the guy kind of running the push for a central bank in the United States. He was a senator, and he published quite a few articles in the New York Times. So obviously, to me, I'm like, is this a hoax? Is it a, yes, it happened in the, it was on the cover of the New York Times, the front page, but was it a plant article to force the administration and Congress to sign something into law, something such as the Federal Reserve Act, which set up the Federal Reserve Bank and basically handed over controls of our monetary system to a bunch of bankers? Why would they do that? Who was involved? Was this part of that? Was it a planned hoax? And from my research, no, it's not. I've gone through court cases. All kinds of things happened after this, and the cordoning off of the Grand Canyon. But it does make sense that if they did find a massive gold deposit in the base of the Grand Canyon, that the banksters would be afraid that they will have lost everything because of the devaluation aspects. And this article talks about billions of ounces of gold, when at the time there was only 100 million ounces of known monetary gold available. Billions and billions of ounces were in the base, supposedly, in the Grand Canyon. I will read this article to you, and you can make up your own mind. This is one chapter of the entire book that I'm writing on the gold in the Grand Canyon and how it led to the creation of the Federal Reserve and how it has been guiding our monetary policy, our foreign policy for 100 years. This is the biggest story you'll ever hear of in your life, and you're hearing it at roadtoruta.com, so make sure you subscribe to these videos and go to roadtoruta.com, the website, and sign up for free emails. So anyway, again, that tell of vast riches in the Grand Canyon. Salt Lake City, Utah, June 18th. Much attention is being given among men. Now remember, this is written in 1912, so they speak a little differently. It's kind of like reading Middle English from Chaucer when I took a Chaucer class in high school. But this, you'll get the gist of it. Much attention is being given among men interested in mines in this region to develop the gold deposits in the Grand Canyon of the Colorado. For several years, operations have been carried on quietly by concerns largely financed out of Chicago. And I have a stock certificate of the company that was doing this mining. It's really interesting. I got it online. I don't know how. It's called Black Sands Mining. Out of Chicago. There has been much amusement among the older miners who did not believe that the canyon would yield anything worthwhile. Now, however, reports are coming out that the region coming out of the regions that indicate that may figure largely in the production of gold within the near future. Large operations are already underway, and it is understood that much more capital is to be furnished to increase the plants that have been established. So they're investing in processing plants within the Grand Canyon. And remember, we're talking horseback to get down there and traversing a crazy wild river to get to this spot. Anyway, more coming. The development of the Colorado River gold deposits follows as a result of the perfection in recent years of process of extraction of small quantities of the metal from riverbeds and dumps that have formerly been worked. Many large companies have been formed in recent years to conduct dredging operations on a large scale, and profits from their operations in some of the abandoned gold fields in this region have been large. One of these concerns is the American Placer Company, which turned into one of the largest gold mining operations in the United States, if not in the world. Financed in Chicago, which acted on reports of various explorers of the Grand Canyon who had found indications of good values of gold and large bodies of silt in the chasm. This concern took its station at Lee's Ferry, Arizona. I've done a ton of research on that, and that was the spot on the river where they can get the set up as a base camp, then to go into where the gold is found. This is a desolate place where John D. Lee, who was executed as the leader of the Mountain Meadow Massacre by the Mormons, took his refuge for some time. It is the point where the Colorado, now listen, but first don't go to the Grand Canyon and go looking for this yet. When I get the book out, I'll tell you my guesses as to where it is. It's not where they're trying to tell us here, though. Anyway, moving on. It is at the point where the Colorado emerges from the sand hills, through which it has burrowed its way for more than 150 miles and begins to cut its way into the Marble Canyon. Marble Canyon, not coming to the plain level again until it reaches the border of California. Those of you conspiracy people, look up the Grand Canyon mummies, and there was a guy named Kincaid working for the ever famous Smithsonian Institution, which supposedly went in there and did all this excavation on pyramids and mummies and all kinds of things within the Grand Canyon. Very interesting. No, it's not conspiracy theory. People have seen Egyptian writings on the rock in the Grand Canyon, and it's just another thing that's being hidden from us. And this place in Marble Canyon, just an FYI, the great granddaughter of Kincaid, I believe, works there now as the Marble Canyon archaeologist. Very interesting stuff. Part of the ton of research I've been doing. That's why the book's taking so long. Anyway, okay, moving on. And this is all from the front page of the New York Times. The Chicago concern had great obstacles to overcome. Lee's Ferry is separated by a desert from the railroads in Arizona and by more desert and mountains from the same sort of communication in Utah. It is of this section that legend has it that a traveler by wagon once remarked, quote, "I don't want to be disrespectful to God, but I think I'd have taken part in that seventh day and finished up this place," unquote. The problem of getting supplies was a large one, but by the expenditure of large sums of money, most of the difficulties have been overcome. If you look at any of the old archived videos of very first movies, not videos, well, they're on video now, archived movies, the first movies taken of traversing down the Colorado River, it's just amazing that they got anywhere or got any equipment into this area. Okay. For the treatment of the gold-bearing silt, a large dredge was carried across the desert in sections and installed. I have pictures of that dredge and of other equipment that was put there in the very, very early 1900s. Next came the problem of getting coal to operate it. A good vein was found in Cottonwood Canyon, 20 miles above the ferry, but in order to reach the mine, a road 80 miles long had to be built in and around the gorges leading to the river. The hauling proved expensive. You notice they're saying everything's so expensive. They don't want the little guys going into this area, but they wanted to get this article out. And that's the key. Why? Because this forced the Federal Reserve, this information forced Woodrow Wilson to sign the Federal Reserve Act and get people in Congress to pretty much, not necessarily approve it, because not many people signed on to the bill, but it was enough at that point in time. Let's see. To reach the mine, 20 miles. Where am I? A good vein was found in Cottonwood Canyon, 20 miles above the ferry. In order to reach the mine, a road 80 miles long had to be built in and around the gorges leading to the river. The hauling proved expensive, and so the concern had a steamboat of 50 tons and two 100-ton barges built in San Francisco, sent by train and wagon, and set up. These now operate between the mine and the dredge. Other improvements have been installed, and slowly a settlement is growing up in a place that had been appropriated by cattle concerns, with the idea that they could always monopolize it by controlling a few watering places. A railroad will probably be built from the north or south to the ferry within the next few years. Now remember this, F.D. Watson, who has been conducting operations for the Chicago concern, has come out of Lee's Ferry to report to his principals and make further arrangements to carry on the work. He declares that when the whole field has been developed, the supply of gold in the world will have increased by billions. The supply of gold in the world will increase by billions when there was only 100 million in monetary gold at the time. What would that do to society? What would that do to the power of the rich? What would that do to the monetary system? We were on a gold standard back then. F.D. Wilson. Very important name. Wait till the book comes out. It's going to blow your mind. The Road to Ruta stuff is nothing compared to this. Quote, I know it will be difficult to... This is F.D. Wilson saying this. I know it will be difficult to comprehend that I have a correct conception of the wealth that is buried in the banks of the Colorado Canyon, he says, but I can demonstrate every statement I make to be absolutely true, and that my chief shortcoming is the inability to comprehend the vastness of the riches that lie along that great stream. Unquote. Okay, keep going. At Lee's Ferry are mountainous deposits of marl silts that contain the wealth. Surmounting these is a sort of capstone formation that contains equal values. These harder formations, however, are a little more difficult treatment. Underneath this stony cap is the softer silt that practically melts like sugar under the hydraulic treatment. Experimentation and tests repeated and rechecked 1,000 times over have demonstrated conclusively that the soft silt contains 50 cents per yard in gold with a little silver, and strange as it may seem, considerable quicksilver, which is what, mercury, I think. Exposed to sight are billions of yards of the silt, containing more billions of dollars worth of wealth. Remember, an ounce of gold was, I think, $20 at the time. So they're talking billions of dollars. More billions of dollars of precious metal than the human mind can possibly grasp in computation. For 2 years, we have been experimenting on methods of extracting and saving the gold and other metals. The effective plan has at last been worked out, and that district is about to come into the mining world of activity in startling fashion. Quote, I don't wish to be understood as meaning that this is going to be any proper place for the poor prospector, so stay away. For it will be nothing of the kind. It is a place for strong companies and no others. A great deal of money must be expended on the proper equipment. Food can be obtained only by men who have big wagon freight trains to transport it to the centers of activity. Only companies financially able to conduct large operations can cope with the situation, and the poor man would starve to death trying to get a foothold. Up the Colorado River, 150 miles, there is another great outcropping of the silt, which is being developed by a concern largely financed in this city and in Denver. This extends for more than 18 miles, and then it dips down and has been traced only once more before the deposit at Lee's Ferry is again found. It is believed that the other deposits can be tapped in Marble Canyon if that ever is made accessible. That, my friends, was on the front page of the New York Times in 1912. In 1913, they created the Federal Reserve, and they turned the Grand Canyon into a national park around the exact same time and cordoned it off so that no one can go there, no one can mine there, no one can explore certain parts of the Grand Canyon. It is absolutely off limits to anyone and everyone, including U.S. presidents. Mind-blowing. And it's not a fake story. I've been doing research. There's lawsuits. There's all kinds of stuff that is going to be coming out in the book. And it fits right in with the Road to Ruta theory. It fits right in with the comic book. It fits right in with what's going on in our monetary system behind the scenes, all the secrets. It fits right in with all those U.S. gold-backed bonds, the 1934 bonds that were issued supposedly, and the U.S. government is claiming no, that's got nothing to do with anything. They were in these patinaed carrying cases, trunks. It fits right in with Yamashita's gold. Unbelievable story. All the gold in America needs for a gold standard is lying in wait in the Grand Canyon and at other places that I've talked about. But the Grand Canyon thing is the biggest story. It's so much bigger than the Road to Ruta. It's bigger than anything you can even imagine. That's why it's taken me so long to get this book done, and I don't even know when it's going to be done now. And every time I open a new door, there's more evidence that that's exactly what has happened, and there are people within Congress who still know all about it. There's a extensive military base within the Grand Canyon that no one's allowed to talk about. The coordinates and area that they gave in that article is not where the gold is. It's not. And I have discovered a few things about how they covered up the spot that the gold actually was. They actually diverted a river so that the tourists won't see it when you're canoeing down the Colorado River. Amazing story, amazing conspiracy that I have so much backup, and that's the biggest problem now is consolidating all the proof and putting it into the book form. But when I get it done, and hopefully it will be within the next couple months, I will share it with the world, and maybe even by then, our government will start telling the truth about what's really going on behind the scenes. Anyway, this is Bix Weir, RoadToRuta.com, talking about the great gold conspiracy in the Grand Canyon. Make sure you subscribe to the Road to Ruta at RoadToRuta.com. You get a free book. And make sure you subscribe to these videos because there's going to be a lot more information coming out as I go through this. Probably even more videos before I finish the book. So you guys take care and good luck out there.